back to my channel. I'm Rachel, the owner and creator here at the Eclectic Cottage in Spokane, Washington. Happy Sunday, everyone. For today's video, I continued working on some items specifically for a display that I'm trying to create for summer and the 4th of July. So kind of some Americana themed projects. There are two of them. I love the way that they came out. I hope you guys do too. And without further ado, let's get to today's video. For my first project, I am going to be painting this cute little kidney-shaped end table that I found on Facebook Marketplace. It was already painted kind of a reddish brown color that I wasn't really enthused with, so I am going over that with some Sweet Pickins milk paint. Now, I know red isn't a color you guys see me use very often. I rarely even use it for Christmas. However, I am trying to bring some items together to create kind of an Americana themed display. I know you probably saw me paint those flower boxes a few weeks ago, red, white, and blue, and so I decided I needed another red item for this display. So that is why I picked this color. This is Red Wagon by Sweet Pickins Milk Paint. It's a beautiful red, and I did add Extra Bond to my paint. I wasn't really sure about the color that was already on there and how well it would stick, and I didn't want a bunch of flaky chippiness on this table. So again, I used the recommended amount of Extra Bond. And I did end up going over the table with 2 good coats of the milk paint. Once my little table was completely dry, I took it outside to sand it smooth and to also do a little bit of distressing. I'm starting with my palm sander and some 220 grit sandpaper and just going over the flat surfaces with that and then around the rim. Now, milk paint does tend to leave behind some little chunks at times, and I like to have a nice smooth surface when I'm done with a piece. So I always sand. This time I am doing some distressing, as I said. I wanted to bring some of the brown tone from underneath the red paint just to give this table a little bit more of that Americana kind of rustic feel. Now, I don't like to use my palm sander on spindly legs because I feel like it takes way too much off too fast. So for those areas, I go in by hand with some sandpaper. And how I like to do this, since milk paint tends to be a little bit of a harder paint once it's dry, is I normally go in with some heftier sandpaper, like a 120 or 150. And that's what I use to do the main part of the distressing. And then I follow that up with some 220 just to smooth out any scratch marks that were left behind by the harsher sandpaper. Then once I'm finished sanding, I'm going in with a damp shop towel and just cleaning everything up and getting rid of that sanding dust. Now, I'd already decided for this little table, I wanted to keep things simple. I wasn't adding any transfers or decoupage paper or anything like that, just simply painting it and sealing it. For my sealer, I am using some DIY clear wax to start. I'm just applying that with my soft bristle brush in a nice even layer. And then once I have a section done, I'm going back in with a dry shop towel to remove any excess wax. Once I was finished with the clear wax, I decided I really wanted to add a little bit more age and patina and hopefully deepen up this red color just a little bit. So I am going in with some DIY dark wax over the top of my clear wax to see if I can get the look that I'm going for. And you can see here again, I'm just applying this wax with a small brush and then wiping back the excess as I go, doing one section at a time. You can see here as I add that dark wax to the top of the table, it's a subtle change, but it helps to really richen and deepen the paint a little bit, which I absolutely love. It adds to that Americana kind of vintage feel, and I just really think was the perfect touch for this little table. All in all, this was a pretty simple makeover, but I think this little table is going to be a perfect cornerstone for my future Americana display, and I hope you guys like it as much as I do. My second project is this cute little school desk chair that was given to me by a customer. They were actually on their way to Goodwill and decided to stop and see if I wanted it. And I was like, heck yes, I can do something with this thing. And so they left it with me. It had a tag on it. It looked like it had been in somebody's booth at one point, but obviously never sold. And so here it is. Now, this little chair was in kind of rough shape. There were a lot of dings in the metal legs. So I am starting by trying to smooth some of those out. I'm just using some 150 grit sandpaper there on the legs and trying to make it at least a relatively smooth surface. Then I'm going over the seat and the back with my palm sander again, just trying to make sure I have a nice smooth surface to start with. Once I was finished sanding, I wiped everything clean with a damp shop towel before moving on to paint. To get started, I decided I wanted a nice, even base color. So I am going over the entire little chair with Rustoleum 2X spray in Espresso. It's a nice dark brown, and I'm just giving this one good, even coat of that brown spray paint all over. Now, to be honest, at this point, I really didn't have a clear vision of where I wanted to go with this little chair. I was kind of thinking of leaving the legs the sprayed brown color, so I decided to go over the entire piece with some clear matte spray by Rustoleum just to seal everything in case that was the direction I ended up going. In the end, I decided I wanted to use this little chair in my future Americana display, and I thought white would be the perfect color. So I grabbed out some sweet Pickins flour sack, mixed myself up a batch, and went to town painting the little chair. Now, I forgot to add extra bond, you guys, and when I came in the next morning, A lot of the paint had literally flaked off of the chair. Now, I really don't think this would have happened if I would have painted the chair with the flour sack while that top coat was still a little bit tacky. But this chair's been sitting around for a couple weeks now, and that top coat had enough time to cure up, and I really should have added extra bond to my paint to keep it from flaking off. So I ended up actually taking the chair over to my sink, washing all of the flour sack back off, and then starting over, this time using DIY's White Swan instead. Now, the nice thing about using the DIY paint here is that it is relatively thick, it's highly pigmented, and I did end up only having to go over my little chair with 2 good coats of the paint and then touch up a few little areas where I could see the brown still with a 3rd coat. Once I'd finished painting my little chair and it was completely dry, I took it outside to sand everything smooth and do some distressing. Now, since DIY paint is a little bit thicker, it does leave behind some brushstroke marks. And again, I like a nice smooth surface when I'm finished. So I am going in with some 220 grit sandpaper, sanding everything nice and smooth and doing some distressing as I go. Once I was finished with the sanding, I grabbed a damp shop towel, went in, wiped off all of the sanding dust, and while I was there, I did a little bit more wet distressing. I like to go over some of the areas that I've sanded, again, just to make sure that I don't have any scratch marks left behind by the sandpaper, and also to just kind of emphasize some of the distressed areas. I plan to add a transfer to the back and the seat of this little chair, and to help ensure that they stick down properly, I'm sealing up my White Swan paint in those areas with some more of that Rustoleum clear matte spray. I've also found that it makes it much easier if you give your top coat time to dry before going in with your transfer. So I let my chair sit overnight before coming back in and adding the transfer to it. For my transfer, I wanted something that would work well with my kind of Americana theme I'm going for. So I chose this beautiful one that has all sorts of gorgeous blue tones, some whites and greens. This is called Garden Whispers by Redesign with Prima. I started by cutting out a larger piece to go on the left side of my seat, and I am just peeling off that backer, laying it down where I want it, and then I'm going to begin applying it using the transfer stick that comes in the pack and slowly peeling back that piece of vellum as I go. Once I had that first transfer down, I added another one to the back of my little chair and then a couple more to the seat just to kind of balance everything out. There ended up being a few places where the transfer actually pulled my paint up just a little bit. So I am going in with a tiny brush and some clear liquid patina and basically just gluing those areas back down again. So I'm just kind of pushing that paint up underneath the transfer and then rubbing it back down with my fingers. This was pretty prevalent along the edges, and I think I might have not gotten enough of the clear matte spray in those areas. Either that or I just hadn't given it enough time to dry. Then it was on to the final step in my little chair project, which is to seal my paint. For this, I am again using my DIY clear wax, working it into all the crevices, sometimes having to use a little brush to do so, and then, of course, wiping back the excess with a dry shop towel. Once I'm finished applying my clear wax, my little chair project is done, and I have to say I absolutely love the way that it came out. It is so cute, and I think it will make a perfect addition to my little Americana display, and I hope you guys like it as much as I do. Well, that is it from here for today, you guys. I hope you liked my Americana themed projects, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up. I so appreciate that. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel, and then of course just hit the little notification bell so you don't miss anything. And then don't forget to drop a comment below and let me know what you thought of today's projects. Just a quick reminder too, I do carry a full range of DIY paint and products here in my shop, as well as on my website at www.theeclecticcottagespokane.com. That includes DIY paint and products, as well as sweet Pickins milk paint and products, some recycled treasures, decoupage papers, and of course, Redesign with Prima products as well. Speaking of Redesign with Prima, my next video is actually going to be the reveal of their beautiful new release. That release will actually go live on my website at 8 a.m. on May 5th. So you can check it out there. I can hardly wait for you guys to see it. There's so many beautiful things in this new release. So I hope you can join me back here on, let's see, Thursday for that video. Until then, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your weekend, whatever's left of it, and beginning of the week. I will see you back here on Thursday. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. I always appreciate it, and I'll see you then. Bye.